Hello, curious researchers. Let's talk about why is it important to have your life while you are doing your PhD. First of all, because you are a human being and you are on this planet Earth to do something besides your PhD. And this can happen when you finish it, or it can happen at the same time. But I'm sure that why you decided to do a PhD also has to do with who you are, what your aspirations are, what are other things that you are looking for besides PhD. So maybe we have this thought that investing time in something else next to the PhD is going to distract us from getting until the end faster. And when I say faster, I really mean like faster, quote unquote. Because you know that you are going to spend 3 to 5 years in this place doing a PhD. And if you know that you are going to invest coming 3 to 5 years in something, would you choose giving up on everything else and just focusing on PhD for this period of time? If yes, why would you choose this? What are the thoughts behind it? Do you really believe that you can get more results, that you can be more productive if you focus all your energy into the PhD? And let me challenge you with a metaphor that might not resonate, but to me it resonated. I was thinking of a plant. So imagine a plant and imagine that you want it to grow super fast. So you might give it water every day. And in the beginning, this plant will like it, but at a certain point, it will start to feel suffocated. It will start to show signs of disease. And ultimately, if we continue doing this, it is going to die. So it is the same with ourselves as human beings, with our brain. If we don't give it time to rest, then it will start to show signs of disease. And the fastest road to get to a burnout is to focus on one thing and get the energy only from one thing, which in this case can be your PhD. And this is something that I really do not want for you. I do not want you to get to a place of burnout. I want you to take care of yourself, to realize when you are tired, sick and tired of your PhD, so that you can step out, so that you can take more time for yourself, still be involved in the PhD, but you don't have to come to a point that you have to stop it and that you are so sick and tired that you want to give up on everything. Because you have your reasons why you have started this PhD, and if they have not changed and they're still important for you, let's not sabotage ourselves to not get there where we wanted because we want to be as productive as possible. And what does it mean to be as productive as possible? Because ultimately you can seemingly have no results for 3 years. And then after these 3 years, you have gathered a set of data, what works, what doesn't work. You have figured out things that you are going to write 3 papers. And it's not that we are going to invest 1 year, write 1 paper, 1 year, write 1 paper. But more often than not, this comes in bulk experiences. So first, we are going to have a period of time where we are going to be really involved in understanding what is it that we do, because we come there and we jump into a topic that is new for us. And this first period of time is really debunking everything. And then getting into dead ends, figuring out, okay, this road not working. This road also not working. This set of circumstances does not give the desired outcome or any outcome. Because sometimes you don't really have a desired outcome. You just are exploring if there can be an outcome. So once you collect all this set of data, only afterwards you are able to draw some conclusions. And the more data you have, the more conclusions you can make. And usually this happens with time. But also time is a very tricky factor to rely on, because you can be coming after somebody who has been doing a PhD and who has gotten to the point where it just requires a little bit more tweaking and then you get an explosion of results. But this person invested years before that, and then you get to pick up the cream of the work. Or you can come to work from scratch, for example, in a young group or young topic, totally new topic in that group. And then you really have to pass a long way to understand what is the direction to go. Because most probably also your professor doesn't know what is the direction to go, but you are hired there to figure it out. And you are probably aware of all of this because you are right now involved in these things. But I would like you to think, or maybe rethink, what is the amount of time, the amount of energy that you are investing in your PhD and that you are investing in the rest of your life. Because sometimes we may think that when we finish our PhD, our life will start. Our life is happening right now, this moment that you are listening to this video or this podcast. So your life is not waiting and looking at the clock when your PhD is going to be over. Your life is there happening for you. And we can decide to be a passive participant in there and say, I'm going to see you when I finish my PhD. Or we can decide to be an active participant and say, okay, what else is there besides my PhD? What am I investing my interests in? Like, what are my interests? How much energy am I really investing in it? Because by the time we get to our PhD defense, it's going to be 3 to 5 years of a certain lifestyle. And this lifestyle is going to create habits, is going to create behaviors. And in our mind, we might think, oh, when I get to the end, then I'm going to do whatever I want. Then I'm going to be the person that I want to be. Then I'm going to spend all the time that I want on this thing that I really wanted. But a habit is such a strong driver. You know, like once you create a habit, this goes automatically. You don't think about it. It goes subconsciously. So what is it that you want to cultivate for 3 to 5 years during your PhD that is going to be a subconscious program that is going to be running even when you finish your PhD? This doesn't mean that this cannot change after you finish your PhD, but my desire is that you can start doing this during your PhD. You don't have to wait 3 to 5 years to start creating a lifestyle that you want after your PhD. It starts today, because today is going to determine where you're going to be tomorrow after a PhD, where you're going to find a job, who you're going to be, how you're going to be showing yourself to those interviews when you are looking for a job, another job, when you're looking for friends, etc. And another thing, why is it important to have life, is because we as humans are complex creatures. And we draw inspiration from many different places. And this inspiration is not always something that we consciously choose. It's not that we say, okay, now I'm going to focus and I'm going to have loads of inspiration. Yes, there is something that we need to be dedicated. We need to dedicate our time, but we also need to have times of rest and play. And play is maybe more important for creativity. And play can be just cooking and having fun and playing. Or it can be playing a sport. Or it can be spending time with friends and playing a board game. Or any kind of interactive, fun, playful time that you see for yourself. Because also during this play, there are some people who are using play as a tool of self-discovery, is that you can be playing a game with people, and you observe, let's take basketball, for example. You observe how you are behaving in your team. So you have yourself, you have your team, and then you have the opponent team. And then you can observe who are you when you are in different positions, because there are different positions in basketball. Who are you compared to your team members? How do you relate to them? How do you relate to the opponent's team? Because all of these things, then you can take and see how you are behaving in the academic world, or use them and bring them to the academic environment. And I'm sure there is some of it that you are already doing, because, there's a saying that how you do anything is how you do everything. So a lot of our behaviors are very easily translated from one area to another. But also we can be very different, and we can choose how we portray ourselves there. Another thing to bring up is why it's important to have rest and not be only involved ourselves in the PhD is because we're going to have interactions with other people who come from very different fields, who have no idea what PhD is, who have no idea about our topic, about our area of expertise. And these people are going to have their own interests and their own areas of expertise. And you might even get ideas from these totally different fields, totally different ways of working, totally different concepts that are applied in other domains, but can be used for yours. And what comes to mind, for example, is using principles from cell biology to design your electrical circuit. You can think, okay, cell biology on one hand, electrical engineering on another hand, what does it have to do with one another? But you can look at the movement of electrons and whatever it is that you need for your electrical circuit and draw some inspiration from nature. Like many disciplines, or in general, we as humans, we are trying to explain nature because we are part of it. So we draw a lot of inspiration from it. And I'm sure that in your environment, wherever you are, there are people with very different areas of expertise, very different interests. And I'm sure that you yourself are bringing so much more to the table than just a PhD. Because yes, there is a PhD. We are all going towards it, and we're all going to put this PhD behind or in front of our name. But who we are, like our name is surname, next to that PhD is going to describe much more than that. PhD just means that you know how to use a scientific method. And we all get this title PhD because we're using the scientific method. So it means that, okay, our institutions, they say this person has demonstrated this and this capability, and they know how to use it. And then where you're going to use it, it's so diverse. So for example, you can be using it you can be studying electrical engineering and then using the scientific method to discern the news that are popping up, because nowadays also news are very confusing. So you can run them through some algorithm of your own that you have developed and see if they make sense or not, if there is enough information that can sustain the accuracy and truthfulness of that news article. This is just one example, but it can be applied anywhere. And vice versa, what you do in life can be applied for your PhD. So I can say for me, an example was movement, dancing. And this was the playful moment that played a big role for me. It allowed me to rest. So during the day, I was focused on my PhD, let's say my 9-to-5 quote-unquote job. And then in the evening, I would be going for dancing. And this was a very playful time, very creative. It was a moment also of connecting with other people who come from very different backgrounds, very different areas of interest and expertise, very different cultures. And it also allowed me to connect to myself, to my own body, my movement, because during the day I was very much in my mind. And then my mind would get rest by exhausting my body. And this is something that my mom taught me very early, is that you rest your mind by exhausting your body, and you rest your body by exhausting your mind, vice versa. They're connected ultimately. So what is important also is to change the chemicals in our body. Because if we are seated the whole day and we are looking for inspiration to fall from the sky just by sitting on our couch, this is going to be very difficult. Well, I'm sure that you are implementing a lot of these things and that you are even maybe not aware of it. But I'm sure that wherever you are in your PhD, whether you are just starting or you're in the middle or finishing, or you have finished and you are now looking back at your PhD experience, that there is so much to draw from it. Really like enormous learnings, enormous experiences that you have gone through that now may seem normal, that everybody goes through it, that everybody has the same interests, that every PhD looks the same, but it's absolutely not true. And this is your unique signature that you will bring further in your life, in your career, in your relationships. So that's why I invite you to rethink and not give up on other things in your life just because PhD requires you to be very focused and very present. You can be very focused and very present during your PhD, during your working hours, whichever those working hours are, because some people are more productive in the morning, some people are more productive/effective in the afternoon, in the evening. That's totally fine. There is no recipe like one size fits all. You are designing your PhD, but design it in a way that it supports your life and not that your life has to suffer because you have decided to go through a PhD. You know, if you hear that PhD is a moment of suffering, look for examples where it's not. Because there are examples that PhD can be just another thing in your life. And I do hope that you get to this place. First of all, I congratulate you because you are already involved in all of these things. You are going through these things and you are doing a great work wherever you are. And if you want to go deeper into what is really individual for you and what is your signature, what does your PhD mean to you? What is the next step? How this PhD will serve you for that next step? I invite you to join me in individual coaching. Because in this individual coaching, we really focus on what is it that is important for you specifically. Here, I'm talking more generic things that can appeal to more people. But when we talk one-on-one, this is where all the juice is hidden. And you already have it. So I invite you to book a free discovery call in the link down below, and I will see you there.